Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS, and today we're doing an interview with Vortex from MobileMusicPro. And to kick off the stream, we're going to go into a song that he sent me, and this is called The Chase. Let's do it. Good morning. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the show. My name is Jade. This is How to App on iOS. It is Friday morning here in Australia, and I'm feeling good. Yeah, because it's my holiday tomorrow. Oh, yeah. I hope you're all doing well out there. Thank you for joining us today in the live chat. We'll get over to you soon and say hello eventually. But let's jump straight in today because, ironically, I organized this interview last year. and things happen, things get in the way, and you can't control life, can you? Things happen. So finally, I reached out again to this particular person and said, "Hey, I think we better do this. I better have you on the show." And let's find out a little bit more about your elusiveness on YouTube. So now this person is a content creator for a YouTube channel called MobileMusicPro. His name is Vortex. Yes, I'm going to do that every time I say his name today because it is what it is and you'll just have to deal with it. And he's he works mostly in Cubasis and creating sound packs and such. So yeah, but you guys are going to find out a lot more about him today. So without further ado, let's bring him into the stream. So let's welcome everybody. Round of applause for Vortex. Hey, Vortex, what's going on?
Oh, Jade. Oh, Jade, I love your sound effects so much. It's really great. Thank you for that introduction. That is a fantastic introduction with the effects. I love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Hey, it's just a reverb, mate. Relax.
I love it, though. I love it.
So, well, firstly, thank you for coming on the show. I know both of us run YouTube channels, and it's hard slog. So there's not always the time in the world to do so. So thank you firstly for giving me the time to come on here. And I'm going to hit you with the famous question that I hit everybody with. First up, Vortex, what does music mean to you?
What does music mean to me? Well, to me, music means a number of things, but ultimately, it kind of means freedom. It's a bit of escapism too, but for me, I think it really means freedom because it gives you the ability to kind of express what's inside of you. And that's so difficult. They say that body language is like 90% of the communication, but with music, it's just all about feeling. And that's why a person can enjoy one track and then that exact same track be heard by somebody else and it sound completely different and maybe they hate it. And so it really is just that ultimate expression of your inner character, of who you are, no matter what genre you're producing. It's really about what you care about and you letting that being expressed and other people actually be able to feel something that you created, be able to feel how you feel, and just the exchanging of that is something that can't be described as anything other than magical.
Yeah, it's absolutely a personal experience, and it's different for everybody. Has there been a time in your life where music has helped you overcome something that's been hard to deal with? Can you recall any time like that where music's just pulled you out of the depths of hell?
Oh, I tell you, it's almost on a day-to-day basis. but seriously, there was definitely some difficult times. I'm like many others, a child of divorce, and that happened at a pretty early age. And so, music definitely got me through that. A lot of rock music, and when I was younger, and actually country music too, from actually Minnesota, right up there north in Minnesota. And it's rock music, classic rock music, and country music is really big. It's really big up there. And so I really gravitated towards a lot of the rock and classic rock music, and then eventually started getting more into the pop music as my friends started getting more into pop music. But the ability to just put on that CD. That's in that CD player is something that, again, it's so personal and so important. It's almost the universe right there inside of a little CD player. And for me, that's what it was. It was the ability to escape to something that truly made me happy, truly made me feel important, made me feel connected with this crazy thing that we call the rest of humanity. So I think particularly when I was younger, going through dark times with the divorce issue, and then changing schools a couple of times as well, ended up changing schools a few times, and music was just something that was always there. Always right there with me. First, it was a tape player, then a CD player, and then an MP3 player, but it was always right there with me. I might have shown my age a little bit there, but it was always right there with me, and it's something that I can continue to take with me from here until of course the next life and beyond.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say CDs. Holy shit, you're giving your age away now.
You can't see the grays.
Yeah, same here.
My crappy camera.
I got to dye my hair this weekend. So speaking of home and growing up, and Minneapolis, yeah. So I lived in Minneapolis for 2 years. Man, what an amazing place. I lived there from 2016 to 2018. And unbelievable place. Cold as fuck, but it's the only place I've ever been where I walked outside and the liquid in my eyes froze within 5 seconds of walking out the front door, and I literally could not close my eyes. I'm like, what the hell madness is this? But such an amazing music scene, because even during those horrible winters, gigs are full of motherfuckers. Like, especially metal gigs. Like, I was going to heaps of metal gigs, and holy shit, they were packed, just packed solid. And outside, it was like unbearable.
They don't care.
No, they don't. They're amazing.
They just wrap up with layers and just go for it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place for arts in general. It's weird, isn't it? Like, before I'd moved to America, I'd never heard of Minneapolis as being like a destination for music. But when I got there, like, you always hear, you know, Bay Area and all this stuff of certain styles of music and stuff. But I'd never heard Minneapolis being the place. But actually, Minneapolis, I think, has the most amount of theaters within America. So their theater strip is just like massive. An incredible place, incredible place. So did you grow up there? Is it right?
Yeah, I actually grew up there. And of course, there's the Mall of America, too. There's a bunch of stuff up there.
That's not a mall. That's not a mall. That's Disneyland with some shops.
It really is. We're talking about 10 plus floors. So yes. I actually definitely grew up there. So I actually moved around, like I was talking about, a few different places there, but it was actually mostly north of Minneapolis. So much smaller towns. So I had folks, of course, in Minneapolis. So I got to travel there, a bunch of times, but I'm actually more from Sauk Center, Long Prairie area. Right. So just, less than, like, even St. Cloud is where I spent most of my childhood, and then from around 12 to 15 moved around Long Prairie and Sauk Center, much more north in Minnesota. So it's always actually way more colder when I lived in Minnesota, where I was, than Minneapolis, because Minneapolis always was like 10 degrees warmer, because I was that much far north. So it's actually even colder where I'm from. But yeah, from those little towns there is where I was actually from. Then moved out to Las Vegas when I was 15.
So I get you now. You're saying I'm a soft cock because I was dealing with the winter in Minneapolis, and it wasn't even that bad. There's heaps worse. It's all good. So speaking of growing up, do you recall the music that was played in your household? And so who were some of the artists that were played in your household as a kid, and have any of them influenced you?
Yeah, so I think probably, but my dad played a vast majority of classic rock and kind of normal rock, like U2. I'm not sure what you consider U2. Maybe that might be considered classic rock at this point, but more standard traditional rock and alternative rock was played a lot. So alternative rock and classic rock, but really the biggest one that my dad played was U2, and that really had an effect on me, because I ended up listening to U2 for so many years and years after that. I first heard it I remember when I was like, I think I was like 4 or 5 years old. My dad had the record player going on, and he had it so loud because we were all out on the porch, and we were having a barbecue. So there was a few of my dad's friends over and stuff like that. I think I had a couple friends, but I remember that specific day he had it cranked so loud, and I went in there and I walked into the house and I put my hands over my ears, and I would just sit there, and I was mesmerized almost, just kind of staring at these massive speakers. When I was just a little kid, the speakers were about 4 or 5 feet, so to me, I was like, like looking straight up. And that was an interesting experience. I don't think I could ever really fully describe, but that is when I distinctly remember the type of music that my dad listened to. Like, before that age, I was just too young to really understand, but that was my first memory really of music in my household. And then on top of that was my dad playing all sorts of YouTube, but also actual cinematic themes. So like the Top Gun theme was my dad. I just loved it. I don't know why, for whatever reason, I absolutely loved the Top Gun theme and a couple other movie themes. And my dad I'd be on my dad's lap, and he would just be playing that guitar, and I would just be so happy. I just remember just listening to that and just being completely in another world. Every chord, every note was really hitting, and to the point to where, like, I think he was doing that for me every night for like years. And then when I eventually got like the Top Gun Nintendo video game, and oh man, that theme hit again. I was like, oh man, I just love it. So yeah, very interesting.
So you're a Top Gun mark, basically.
Apparently.
Yeah, man. I don't know if a mark is. I don't know if you know. It's a term used in wrestling for somebody who really digs somebody. Anyway,
Okay.
I see. I would never have expected that from you. So this is why I do these shows, because it's really interesting when people come on. You hear what their things that they liked, and you're like, wow, I really never expected that. Do you recall the first piece of music that was given to you as a gift, and the first piece of music you actually purchased with your own pocket money, and what format was it on?
Let's see. So actually, I believe that the first, I'm trying to think about given, it was probably a CD, because I definitely used to tape stuff off the radio. But as far as when I remember doing that when I was very young, but when my first, I think, actual music given to me was probably a CD. And what was it? It might have been, it actually, let's see, what the heck was that? It might have been a U2. It might have been, I think it was the first U2 album. So that was, the very first U2 album was on CD. And so I might have been 10, 11, 12. I think that was the first time I remembered being gifted actual music from my parents. It was a first. And then what was the second part? Gifted and purchased.
Purchased,
Let's see, purchased. I actually remember stealing a couple of albums when I was very young. I didn't understand the concept of money yet. I was very young. My dad said, no. My dad said, you can't have this. And I'm like, I really want this, Dad. We just can't afford it right now. And I remember this was before they had the magnetic strips in the CDs and stuff. So I remember definitely taking one or two U2 albums when I was like this was before I was even a teenager, so like 9 or 10. And then I eventually realized that was not good.
See, folks in the chat, nail everything down. Light Fingers Vortex is here. You've heard it first. Make sure you've got the electronic strips on your door before you exit, because Vortex might pocket you.
I really wanted that album.
Yeah, clearly. I love it. That's brilliant. So these are, man, I can't believe that. That's wicked stuff. So did you?
I was just a wee little Vortex running around a big store.
A tiny little Vortex. All right, so let's talk about that. Since you've said the magic word Vortex, how did this name came about? Because this has been around for a long time. This isn't something you just made up for YouTube. This has been, I assume, something that's been with you for most of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the term Vortex goes back pretty far, back to my teenage days, actually. I think my early teenage days, playing video games, hooking up our computers in our basements together to be able to create LAN parties and such for Counter-Strike and for Quake 1 and Quake 2, I think is when we started with that. And that was my, for some reason, I was in math class because we were trying to think of names for our gamer tags. And I was in math class and I heard the word Vertex. And I'm like, vertex, vertice, that's interesting. And then when the next day I woke up with like thinking vertex, I'm like Vortex. And I'm like, wow. I started drawing like a logo. And I remember after that was the name that I wanted to do for my video game. So that was then my gamer tag from like age like 13 or 14 that I used for many years still to this day. And then on top of that, I used that as my producer tag when I eventually wanted to start making some music as well. So people have been calling me Vortex in my inner circles now for so long that it's oftentimes shortened to just V at this point. So yeah, it's definitely been with me for a long time. So I thought I'd carry that with my channel, since that is again what people know me as. And I even had a YouTube channel, a Bitcoin YouTube channel for 4 or 5 years there. And my name was also Vortex on there. So everybody knows me as that name.
Yeah, well, when you're on a name, like you stick to it. Like I have a tag which I've used for years as well called Ridiculosity. And the main reason I chose that, because lots of people can't say it. So I would just love seeing people struggle to say my tag. And then I would get smart to them in voice chats and stuff. And they go, well, shut up, whatever you're called. And I'd sit there and be smart and go, it's got 6 ridiculosity, 7 syllables, if you know what that means. I was always a troublemaker, but I still am. Thankfully so. So yeah, and tags are an important thing. Like and I even use Ridiculosity now for my record label. So it's
still with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though people can't say it, it doesn't matter if they can't say it, because it's what you can find of me all around the internet. So, and I think aliases are an interesting thing, like, because not everybody wants to be so open about who they are, especially in an age on the internet where there's a lot of assholes out there.
And cancellations and everything else.
Yeah, look, I'm amazed I haven't been cancelled yet, but who knows? The year is young. But, there are people out there who, we are living in a day and age where people get doxxed. People, like I've had people find my information and put it on neo-Nazi websites. There are people who just do some fucking insane things, all because you sit in front of a camera and talk about stuff.
And because they have no other time with their lives, but yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that part of the reason too? Like, do you think you're a private person when it comes to like doing this kind of thing, doing live streaming with your channel and stuff like that? And, how hard is it to protect that privacy, to protect the people that you love and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Because anonymity is something that I do take a little bit serious. So, for example, like you said, there's so many people that are getting doxxed and getting their information out there. And, when you start a company as well, like your information gets out there if you start a public company and things like that. So it can get really out of hand. And personally, for me, I am a bit of a private person because I really don't enjoy my picture out there everywhere and things like that. And so you'll notice, for example, on my channel, all of the thumbnails don't contain my picture. My actual face isn't really anywhere. Just recently, with my very recent Mobile Music Roundtable podcast, I put my face on a thumbnail, but it was just for the social media. It wasn't for the YouTube. So it's very, very rare that I use my face. I usually almost never use my face because it's not. I don't want. Another reason is I don't want to make the channel about me. Just specifically about me. Yes, of course, it's my channel. I'm the host, but Mobile Music Pro is about so much bigger than just me. And I know a lot of people can, you have the choice basically. Do you build a personal brand, right, where it's all about your name, or do you build a company type of brand? And I really wanted to go with more of the company type of route of a brand, so that it can represent more than just me. And because I eventually want to have a whole team of people with Mobile Music Pro. I, of course, hire other producers to help create sample packs. And I want to have other people eventually even hosting videos on my channel as well. Like I want it maybe to be a bit more of a network as well, to have multiple other content creators on the channel. So I guess that's a big part of it too. The root of it is that I just didn't want it to be about me. I really just, and it's not I don't even know if that's about a confidence thing. It might even be part of a confidence thing because, everybody has confidence issues pretty much
Totally.
at some point in their life. And so it might even be subconsciously about that a little, but I think, at least I tell myself for the most part, that it really is more about keeping focus on the brand itself, Mobile Music Pro, and what it can stand for, what it has done, and what it does do. Because I do believe that actions speak louder than words. And so I figure if I just create what I want to create, put out there what I want to put out there, and help as much as I can, I think that would be absorbed into the overall brand. So when you think of Mobile Music Pro, you think that, hey, that's a pretty good company. They help a lot of producers. They release a lot of free packs, and they clearly have goals to help the community. So I think that's the root of it.
Yeah, I totally understand it too. Like, as yourself, you've had developers on your show as well. I try and get developers on here. It's pretty hard getting developers on here sometimes because they want to be quite anonymous. And I don't blame them with places like the Audio Bus Forum, where within a...
No shade.
No, but within a day, you can put a post up there or release an app, and within a day, you're getting dragged through the mud because
controversy.
Yeah, you added a subscription model, and then you wake up in the morning to a shitstorm. I can understand why they don't want to show their face. So, or go to that. But so when I did message you about this, I normally ask for a photo, and I'd never had anyone say, "Oh, here's my logo instead." And I was like, oh man, all right. So I ran a little bit of a competition. So this is a thing I might add to all interviews now, to see to my mates, to mostly here in the chat, if we could find a lookalike for Vortex. So we scoured the internet, and apparently this dude's from some British TV show. I don't even know what his name is, but let's see if we've got a kind of sort of lookalike for Vortex. Let's see. Kind of, sort of.
Dude, I've been told I look like that guy by so many people.
I can't remember who he
see the
is.
thicker glasses.
He's from The Office.
He's from a bunch of stuff.
Right. There we go. So maybe I was thinking, all right, so from now on, we're going to have a lookalike section in every interview, and you have kicked it off. So there you go. Folks, what do you think? Have we found a lookalike?
I think so. I got that pudgy baby face going on. I think we got it. I think you nailed it, Jade.
I need to draw a beard on, maybe, something like that, down the bottom there. Anyway, a bit of fun. Why not? So
I think you got it.
So you're a bit of a geek, yeah? Am I correct? So
Absolutely.
What was it like growing up at school? Because, like, you know, I think most of us who make music or into tech or this kind of stuff, we're geeks. And growing up can be pretty tough, man, you know, because the geek tends to get punched and at school. And I know people used to try and punch me at school, and it was like, yeah, you can try, but I'm just going to make you laugh, dickhead, and then you'll forget about punching me. Did you face anything like that, being a geek at school or anything like that? And you know, how did you overcome that stuff? And do you feel now that you're doing, like, you're on YouTube and, you know, a popular person on YouTube, do you kind of feel like doing this a little bit to some of those people?
Well, I tell you, that's a great question. I don't think I've actually been asked for that in an interview before, but I tell you, yes, absolutely. Being a geek, you know, it's amazing how the world has changed, where we are now from just 20 years ago. And then, of course, we go back 30 years, because I'll be 40 in the next year or two. So, it was absolutely difficult, very, very tough. I mean, it was just straight up classic 80s, because there wasn't a whole lot of difference between the 90s and the 80s when it comes to schoolyards.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty much about the same there. So, you know, pretty much, you know, if you didn't find some friends that were bigger than you, you know, you're definitely going to get some kind of talking to on the schoolyard, because you've got nowhere else to go. And so during lunch breaks and recess and stuff, I mean, there's nowhere really to go. So if you did not have some kind of friend, you know, to help you or protect you and stuff, then you were kind of screwed. And so I did move around a couple of different schools. And so there was a lot of times where I did not have somebody, you know, to protect me like that. And it made school very, very challenging and very tough. And in fact, you know, one time this freaking kid was hiding behind the stairs to just come and like freaking choke me out. Like, as soon as I walked down the stairs, he was hiding behind there. So like after that, that was not a whole fun experience. So actually after that, my parents pulled me out of school for a little while to homeschool me for a couple of years. But then I went back to public school back here in Vegas. But it was absolutely crazy, because I'm coming from a little town where it was already tough just with, you know, these few kids. And then I'm going into a school with thousands of students, going from hundreds of students to thousands of students. Like, high schools in Vegas are small cities. You know, they're basically huge prison, or they look like prisons, but they're huge systems. They're big prison systems. They're these big, huge lots that are just full of thousands of people. And so that was absolutely overwhelming for a Minnesota kid to come to Vegas and see all that. And of course, I had a tough time, as you would imagine, because in addition to being a geek, I also looked extremely young. So that did not help me at all. So when I was 15, 16, 17, I looked like I was 11, 12, 13. So definitely I got teased a lot about that. And I really didn't, you know, take my music stuff to school. I really kind of kept that at home, mostly with my family and with my dad and things like that. So we would play instruments at home, but I didn't really take that to school. So I was mostly teased at school for the computer geek stuff, because that is what I was really into. And then later on built my career off of, did software development for 15 years. So I was definitely a geek, definitely into using the computers at before school, lunch break, and after school. For sure, I tried to use the computers as much, because back then, not a whole lot of people had a home computer.
Yeah.
There were many thousands of dollars. There was no internet, so it wasn't a big thing. But I definitely, from very early age, loved computers. My dad always had one at the office, and so I would play at the office. And eventually, he got one for home too when I was a teenager. But until then, I was definitely playing with those computers at the library and school. And it was slim pickings for friends. Absolutely slim pickings for friends, you know, being short, looking young, and a geek. So, you know, getting picked last and all the gym stuff and all that good stuff, all that classic fun stuff is what you go through when you're basically a geek. And these days, it's a whole kind of different world. People just don't have that quite experience for liking the same types of things. There's always, of course, cliques and things like that. Yep. But I believe it is a different world now. And, you know, you can like all sorts of things that used to get made fun of for. And so I'm really happy about that the world kind of got better in that way and changed a bit and kind of conformed itself to people like me. Like the whole world runs off of the internet. I'm a software developer. The whole, we're moving towards crypto as a money, digital money, and I'm a software developer, so I'm a geek. So all of this stuff speaks to me, makes sense. I was playing with digital currencies in World of Warcraft over a decade ago, right? So I understand this new world of digital currencies, being a geek. So for me, though it was tough growing up, I'm really happy to see where we are now. And as far as like having any type of grudge of, kids being kids when they're young, I don't think I do. Kids are always going to be kids, and mean. You're definitely going to be mean when you're younger because you just don't have the experience to know better for the most part. And a lot of people, of course, don't have great parents. So I don't really place any blame or hold any grudges. Though I am extremely happy with how my life turned out, being able to retire at a little bit younger age than most of my colleagues and friends, and being able to just do music full time. That's of course my absolute dream.
God, I watched AEW wrestling yesterday, and CM Punk said something. I can't remember the exact words, but it was to the extent of, "Mean people make mean people," and it's so true, man. It's just there is no benefit to yourself. You only spread shit. Like it's like you're taking a dump everywhere you go. It's absolutely not productive for a society in general. Thank you so much for being so honest about that stuff. I love these shows because we get to talk about this stuff and mental health and all this stuff, because there is all this stuff underneath music, and it's important to talk about all this stuff. Why? Because we're creative people, yeah, and you need to be able to express yourself as a creative person. So being able to just talk openly about all this stuff, and you are right, we are moving to a better place. Unfortunately, there's stuff going on in the world where there are still people flexing at the moment for some fucked up reason. I have no idea why. They're flexing, banging their chest, and it's like, dude, relax.
It's a different world now, though.
Yeah.
All eyes are on you when you be a bully now. You can't just go and be a bully to some random country. Everything is so hyper interconnected, and that is actually growing exponentially year over year, and has been for the past decade. So we are now in a world where it is so hyper connected. We have 4K cameras on everything. So if you are going to do something stupid, like what might be happening right now in the political arena, you're not going to be able to do that in a vacuum anymore. You will be scrutinized. You will be sanctioned. You will be instantly vilified, and you will be without some type of angle, without some type of PR angle, you are going to be eviscerated by the people that the rest of the world believe to be on the right side.
Yeah, look, and it is a great thing. I don't believe in the whole cancel culture for things that people have said in the past. That stuff's shit. But sure. My concern with how the way we are with this kind of stuff is that as a species, we're really like goldfish. And let's compare it to apps. Like an app comes out and everyone goes ape shit for 2 days over it, going, "Oh my God, this is the best reverb app ever." Until 4 days later when a new reverb app comes out and we've forgotten about
guilty.
I'm the same. But this is the problem with canceling people who are bullies and stuff, that we do it, we shut them down, and then because people forget so quickly and move on, they're allowed to sneak back in but at the same time, hey, people should always get another chance. If people are learning and growing and can come back and apologize and change their ways, 100%. I'm all for giving people that second chance.
And it's really a case by case basis,
totally.
For the most part. That's how I always think about it, is because everybody's unique. That means every situation is unique. Though there's similarities, you still have to 100% be able to have an open mind and be able to see both sides, no matter what the situation. Because if you don't, you are just going to further alienate yourself from the human condition, from how people act. You can't make people act a certain way. You have to understand how they act and why they act, and so that you can act better. It's the same thing that goes back to with our channels, when we put out a video and we're like, man, I worked so hard on this video, why didn't this video get more views? And you don't want to think about it negatively, where you're like, oh, they just must not like me. That's what it is. It's all their fault. They don't know what good things are, what a good thing is when they see it, right? But what actually you have to do, and what's more positive, is you have to realize what about this video that I created that people don't like? right? What can I change about myself or this video that maybe people might like a little bit better? Maybe I can do some more research on something, or maybe I could present it in a different way. But you always have to look back and have that open mind and not be 100% closed off, not because the ego is so freaking dangerous. And specifically to generations above ours, ego ruled the world. But now we're in this world where we actually have information. We have the information age. And so you just can't be like that anymore. You have to be open-minded. You have to be able to see both sides, and you have to kind of be able to be a little political. You have to be able to kind of maneuver with the rest of the world, and you have to play the game, because that's what we're all doing. That's all it is at the end of the day, is we're all just trying to play this game together and make it out alive, or not make it out alive, but make it out the best way we can, right?
Yeah, and in a lot of instances, I can forgive and forget with stuff and overlook and not always. Sometimes I get burnt so bad that you just... And I know there are people in my life who think that I've burnt them really bad. And all you can do is try to improve. That is the most important thing.
Yep.
I'm going to play another track, and then we'll come back and say hello to everybody in the chat. And I want to thank you all for being here. I can see there's a bit over 30 of you, I think, something like that. So thank you all for being here. We're going to play another track. I'm going to play... This track is called On the Run. And we'll come back, we'll have a talk about it, and we'll get into like your channel and all this kind of stuff next. So, folks, kick back, relax. Let's play this. This is called On the Run, and we'll see you in a tick. Just let me do this. Bang. And we are off. Douche. And welcome back. Let me make sure this doesn't keep playing like it normally does. Hey. All right, what do we got? We got to bring your volume back in. So that was On the Run. So tell us a little bit. So when I have people on, I normally ask for songs, and you don't have anything released or anything like that. And we briefly spoke about that. So that was made in Cubasis. All the songs I'm playing today, you've made in Cubasis. So are these made from your packs, or how have you making these songs?
Yeah, so I do have a lot of music that I've created over the years, but I haven't actually released it publicly. Like a lot of people, I kind of hoard a lot of my tracks on the hard drive there. But really, it was mostly because I'm learning, right? And I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But a lot of course, when you look back at your old stuff, you're like, what the what the hell was that? A little bit. So I have a lot of that going on with my older stuff. But I definitely have plans to eventually release some more EPs under the Vortex name as well. So I have boy, I've got so many plans for that, but it's really difficult to try to make music and run a business and a YouTube channel at the same time. I tell you,
I
I was
feel
back.
you.
I just I know you know. I just had one of the developers, Imaginando, Nuno from Imaginando, on the podcast, and he's like, I now spend so much time developing apps that I don't actually even get to DJ or make music that much anymore. So you kind of have to give up, unfortunately, a little bit of your free time, and of your love, in order to make sure that your love, gets to as many people as possible, right? Get in order to make sure that what you love, people continue to do this, and your craft and what you believe in continues to live on. And so I really believe that music can really help people, and so that's a big part of the channel, is to be able to help people create music. And so I don't have a whole lot of stuff released yet. I'm really looking forward to creating more stuff to be released, and EPs in the coming years. But for now, most of my music does get created with the sample packs that I've been releasing, and it's just been a joy because I've always used sample packs, and I love using sample packs and MIDI packs and all these different things. And it's I can play the keyboard for sure. Of course, I'm a third generation musician, so I definitely play a little bit of keyboard. Where my grandpa, he sung and played guitar. My dad sings and plays guitar, and I play keyboard. So I love music, but I love other people's input of music as well. It's almost like when I download a sample pack or a MIDI pack, I'm collaborating with another producer right there in real time, even though I can't see them or know who they are. Lots of the times I know who they are because the name's on the pack. But it's like they're sitting right there in the room with you almost when you have all this stuff. And so for me, it's just like this it opened a whole huge world to exploration of music in a very deeper level when I started getting into these types of packs. And so I thought one day, if I start a music company, that's going to be the part of the main focus, and that is part of the main focus of Mobile Music Pro. It's kind of split between a education and a YouTube channel with tutorials and courses, and then a sound design company and sample pack label with these different packs that we release, sample packs, MIDI packs, melody packs, and so on. And so yeah, I really love using those to create music, and I'm definitely going to be using those to create some EPs in the coming years.
Awesome stuff. I'm going to say hello to folks here in the chat. Folks, type something to me in the chat so I can see your name pop up, and I'll give you a call out. Hello, Cy Effin. It's always good to see you. Joe Glenn, Feisty Feather, Brad Example, Fam. Always good to see you. Who else? Tremor Bear, SM Borthwick, Dean Thomas, Welton Kinder, Sean Chandler, Thomas Christ, another one of our amazing admins, Kim Harden Hudson, Black Covers, always a pleasure. Ingo, Gregory O'Sullivan, Deep Gravity. I am Stephen Tucker. Yo, Welton Kinder, Mark EFX, Russ 8889. Stunning, absolutely stunning. Speaking of, anyone else who's here, please say hello. Not a box. Hello, not a box as well. There are so many of you here today. Audible video. There is audible video. I said Brad Example. I'll keep checking the chat to say hello to you if you type something. Sith Vasquez. Sewing. Close. Sith, you missed an M. I'm the spelling bitch. Alrighty. So, Fam put something in the chat before about, where are we? Let me try and find it. Fam. And it's true. Where are we? Let's just scroll up a little bit. This is very unprofessional. Fam, I am forgiven on this channel for egotistical behavior and accepted again. That is what I call love and acceptance. Yeah. So something happened on the channel, which is not even worth, going over. But straight away I was like, you know what? These things can be sorted. And you can't like just remove somebody because something happened, because people learn and stuff like this. So hello, Jamie Mallender, dude. Sorry, I missed Jamie there.
Yes.
But that's a fine example of it, and fam's always welcome here. So it brings me to this point, and I'm going to do this, put you on the spot. It's a bit of fun. Let's just do this. Hang on, let's see if I can do this on the fly. Should
I hear my music in the background.
All right.
Appreciate everybody joining us so much, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I think there's over 30 people in here. So
All right. So I'm going to put a poll in the audience, and so something went down a little bit between you and Russ, our mate Russ, and you know, he said some things, they upset you. You kind of put him on block, passive aggressive kind of stuff. So I put a poll in the audience because forgive and forget, we talked about it just before. I put a poll in. Should Vortex forgive Russ and unblock him after all this time? So I'm putting it out to my people, and they're going to vote, and we'll see if.
I think Russ is the only person I've had to block, like literally in this whole.
And you know why it upsets me? I'll tell you why it upsets me. I love Russ. He has a massive heart. He can be passive aggressive
and great music.
He can be passive aggressive, but that's what we love about him. But the thing is, you've got to take him as, you know, there's a lot of sarcasm. Then you've got to take him like as he is, and we love him for that, and that's the most important thing. And I think, you know, I think it's a travesty that he's, you know, not able to share his input when he's on your channel and stuff like that, because he does care so much about people's music. And I know you do, and I know I do, and I know so many people do. So, you know, I just love seeing people come back together and hug and kiss it out. So anyway, we'll come back to the poll. So you guys can do it. And I'm sure Audible Video, I know Audible Video, you were probably the only one who's put no, because you're a bitch, Audible Video. Right. Somebody put Audible Video in timeout. I'm not doing it.
Somebody said no?
I bet it's Audible Video. See, we have a joke here where we always put Audible Video in timeout just for fun. It's a thing. All right. So I want to get back to, so you said you're a third generation musician. So what did you learn at school? Did you do any music lessons? Did you get forced to play a recorder?
Actually, so I did first play a recorder, like a lot of other people around the world, and definitely in the United States for sure, and probably all around the world. They put that into our first music class, and so I really, really enjoyed my music classes in grade school. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to ever like purchase any instruments because my family was I come from a pretty poor family in the middle of kind of nowhere there in Minnesota. Didn't actually get a chance to go to college or anything like that. I actually dropped out of high school in 10th grade. So I got my GED and went right into the workforce there, doing software development and graphic design. But I did have a recorder when I was younger, and I played the crap out of that thing. I really enjoyed it. My parents, of course, must have hated it because I played it all the time, and of course I wasn't good. Maybe they learned their lesson. That's why they didn't buy me any instruments in high school. But I definitely played that for sure, and I was definitely jealous and sad, you know, when I saw these other kids get full drum sets and clarinets and their shiny cases, and oh man, but they're all, you know, multiple hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for those instruments, and there wasn't really a place to get used instruments in our little local town per se, I don't think. And of course, eBay wasn't a thing yet. So unfortunately, so I didn't really get a chance to do much music in school, unfortunately. And so most of my music and my memories of music is really at home and mostly with my dad. My stepmom didn't really play much music. So it's just really my dad and my grandpa that kind of infused music into my life. My mom even like claims to have no tone and no pitch and things like that. And doesn't really listen to a whole lot of music. But my dad and my grandpa, like that, was really my tie into music.
Right. So I wanted to ask this before, and I've kept it in my brain, which is a staggering event that my brain retains information at turning 50 this year. So what was your first computer that you owned?
So I owned. Okay, well, shucks, because my grandpa gave me an old Commodore 64 when I was in grade school, and I played with that a little bit. That was pretty fun. My dad wouldn't let me play with it too much. He's afraid I would break it or something. But then we had a 486. My dad got a 486 in the house. And that was pretty great. He brought that home from the office. So I played King's Quest on there. And that's really where my love of computers kind of began. Technically, I would assume it began with Nintendo and Game Boy and like those games and stuff. But boy, when we got that computer at home, man, I was downloading Doom. I was making levels for all of these games. It was so much fun. I even ended up making some levels in high school for like Quake 1 and Quake 2. That's that bit of a designer in me, that creative person that I just love to create different things. And these days I just love to create products. But man, now I lost the track of the question.
First computer.
First computer, yes. So it was 486, but the first one I bought was actually after high school, and that was a Pentium 4, I
Oh,
believe,
wow.
and I was so proud of that. Playing Quake 3. Oh,
That's late.
yes,
That's
that
late
was
to the game, man. Like I think my first
yep.
personal computer, like serious personal computer.
We were poor. We
Yeah,
were
I
poor.
was too. Oh god, this ruined me getting a Pentium 2. It ruined my life. I think I got finance for it. They ended up coming to knock on the door because I couldn't even afford to pay it. And it was
Yeah, I definitely financed mine. But I also worked at a computer shop when I was 15. So that's how I was able to get my first computer as well, is and it being so fast for gaming and stuff, because that's what I love to do. And because that was my first job, was working at a computer renaissance. So I got a discount and was able to pay off the computer with payments from my paycheck.
Well, my first computer was a Commodore VIC-20, and I got it and was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But within a very short time, I was like going, this sucks, man. I need a C64. And I got a C64 for the very next Christmas. And holy fuck, did that change my life. I've said this before on the channel, sitting up late nights for 7 hours with my old man with a computer magazine, typing out the code into my Commodore 64, then 7 hours later, finally finish it, and then typing run and getting syntax error line 3. And going,
it's the best train set
no! Ever. And then for the next 2 hours, syntax error line 7, syntax error line 13.
Yes.
We've only got 7,000 lines to go, Dad. And then you finally finish it, and the game is just absolutely dog's balls, just so crap. But that's how it was, man. And my first game I got on Commodore for 64 was Ghostbusters. And I swear to God, when I heard that voice synth, Ghostbusters, I was like, oh my God, the world has changed. And now look at us. We've got these devices in our pockets that we make music on that you could send somebody to the moon with now. You know?
I remember the first time I saw a video played on a computer.
Yeah.
That was like, whoa, video on a computer in this amazing 328 to 16-bit resolution. Life changing. It's like, but it was life changing to see that first time, and then eventually to see a DVD, to get computers fast enough to be able to play a DVD. That was really interesting as well. Watching the progression, it's just been so crazy. You know, all the kids from the generation, you know, Gen X and even millennials, we've seen some crazy stuff. The evolution of technology was so fast paced, and yet it's slow because you're just every day to day doing your day. But you wake up one day and everybody's got the internet. You wake up one day, everybody's got an email address. You wake up one day, everybody's got a Facebook account. You wake up one day, everybody's got an iPhone, and it just keeps happening.
Yeah, and you know, we complain. You see people complain these days. Oh, the resolution on your live streams terrible, and it's like, dude, you don't remember like when it used to take 3 hours to download one porn photo. Like seriously, like times have changed. Like, you know, people don't understand. All right, so let's talk about so after kind of school. So you mentioned that you were a software developer and you've come from a very corporate world, yeah. So and as with a lot of people who come on this show, there seems to be this time difference of like emptiness where people are interested in music and then life gets in the way, yeah. And then you have to do the life thing, and somehow we all get sucked back like a vortex into music. So tell us, how did you get into software development and and all that?
Absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot of software developers that are also musicians and vice versa. It's almost that same part of the brain. It's almost a mathematical part of a brain that really rings true. In fact, there's a lot of different physicists that are also musicians as well. So it's just something about that creative mathematical mind where the creativity and the math comes together and makes that magic feeling. And so you'll find a lot of these a lot of musical talent in a lot of people that you think might not. So yeah, absolutely, it was kind of this interchange. I loved music, and I loved playing on my keyboard, and loved making all these recording things on my little tape recorder. It was so much fun. But then, high school comes along, and, you got to get a job. And I know I really liked computers. So I like I said, I got that first job at Computer Renaissance, and I really had a great time there. And they taught me so much about building computers and things like that. video cards, RAM, CPU, graphic accelerators, how all that works, how the architecture all comes together. And so I was able to learn a lot about that. But then after high school, or right around the ninth or 10th grade, I started learning about Photoshop. And then that was a little bit of a life changer too. It was almost like the first time I downloaded an app. It's a pretty interesting experience that you'll always remember. And that I started doing some graphic design. And then my friend was a web developer or a web designer. He was like 18, just doing, he was a couple years older than me, doing web design. And he introduced me to that. And I'm like, holy smokes, you can do graphics on the internet. Like I couldn't. So that was really amazing. And so that kind of deep delved me into web design. And then from there, I went into web programming, specifically started in ASP, classic ASP, then went into ASP.NET C#. And so that was where I spent the vast majority of my career there is in C#, working for companies, building out backends, but it was all over the web development specifically, but building out backends for retail websites, building out social networks for companies, building out forums, building out CMSs, content management systems, these types of things. So working for basically corporations almost my whole life, but my whole adult career. But it was ranging from small companies to large companies because I was mostly a contract developer because I got bored really easily. So I never really want to stay at the same company more than a couple of years. So I actually worked for a number of different companies. My resume has got a bunch of companies on there, and not because I got fired or anything, just because I got bored and I wanted to do work with a different company and work on a new set of problems. And so I do have a pretty big resume on there, but that's how I got into development. Loved it, really loved it. But I knew always that I was going to come back to music. I just didn't know how or when, but I absolutely always had it in my blood, still listened to music, still every single day. And so I knew it was a big part of my life. And so eventually, if I got the chance and the opportunity, I knew I wanted to do that, build something in the music space, in the music industry, sometime in the future if I could. And so that's when I got the opportunity. I definitely did that. But yep, 15 years in the old corporate world can definitely change a person and make you realize what's important.
Yeah, we were discussing this before the show today. I came from a corporate world. You've come from a corporate world. Pete Johns has come from a corporate world. It certainly is a intense world. You learn a lot from it. You learn an elevator speech.
Quickly,
you definitely learn an elevator speech, and it's an important thing to learn because, people, as we discussed before, people have goldfish brains, and you need to really be able to wrap up who you are, and what you're going to do, and get people interested as fast as possible to keep their interest. And, being a contractor is definitely a more interesting way to be in the corporate world than being entrenched in a company. Like I worked for American Express.
Well, I still had to work in the offices though, right next to everybody else. So,
But I've worked in the television industry and within American Express, and it can get quite cutthroat. And so obviously you got into that because you like what you're doing. But was there a turning point where you come home from work one day and you're just like, you know what? If I go back there, I'm going to punch somebody. I'm going to murder somebody. That's an extreme way of looking at it. But, was there a aha moment that you were like, yeah, I'm done?
I believe that there was. But it wasn't a single moment. It was kind of the span of time of like weeks and months. Basically, I just really, 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 you know what I did? I saw the one movie. What's it called? I forget. It's Jennifer Aniston and The Rocker.
I was going to say falling down.
No. It was The Rocker or The Rock, and there was The Rocker, I think, and there was a person in there, and one of the characters said something like, "I just don't want to spend, all my time worrying about things that don't matter." Yeah. And that kind of really hit me. That really described the entirety of the corporate world. And over the next months and years, I just started missing my family more. I started missing, my cats and my wife, and missing and hanging out with them and hanging out at home. And I think it was around 2017 when I actually made the decision where I'm like, you know what, I am now counting down the days and weeks. I don't know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but I believe it was 2017 when I was finally like, you know what, we've got to create some kind of, I planned to leave this world. And fortunately, I was able to save enough money and got into crypto early enough to where eventually, in 2019, I was actually able to leave the corporate world and finally pursue my dream of doing something in the music business. But man, it was a long, hard slog, and there was it was great for years and years. You make friends, and you're a part of something, but eventually that corporate world gets into you where you have to get stuff done on time or else, and you have beef with other colleagues, and then they take over your projects, and it's the drama can really get to you. And then you get managers that have no idea about actual programming or what you're trying to do. You get some people, some unqualified people into the mix, and in corporate world, that kind of stuff can just really creep in and seed in and start to actually like cancerize, almost like a cancer, get into a company. But so you really got to be vigilant about that kind of stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, I worked at a couple of companies where they allowed some unqualified people to come in, and that really makes you question your day to day. So I would say around 2017 is when I started making plans to eventually create MobileMusicPro.
So you got into crypto as well, and I have strong opinions on crypto, and I think it's a very interesting subject that people are talking about. And before I say anything, I believe with crypto, you really had to get in on the ground level to make to really make an impact. There's a lot of people who got in the ground level, and you were one of those people, clearly, right? And I'm sure we're going to hear about that.
Well,
but
yeah, it's interesting. It's all relative because when you say early, right, that might mean 2012 for some people. That might mean 2017 for other people. So like there's these generations of crypto.
I think
people.
when it started to become mainstream, like is when I'm really heading in, and you had people actually hearing about it, and because back then it was kind of an underground thing, and it was kind of like when the internet started, how we all had forums and all that kind of stuff, when we were contacting each other over modems and direct modems, all that stuff, message boards, but these days it seems like, and from me following it, there's a lot of scams around, and because like everything. Right. And I'm not just attacking crypto or anything like that. Like everything, when things become mainstream, people see it and go, there's a way for me to exploit it. And that happens with everything. And it just seems like at the moment, there's a lot of, and it buys into a lot of pyramid schemes. There's a lot of people who've promised the earth and they have just disappeared. But that's happened with everything throughout time. So, it's an interesting thing because, at the end of the day, we're still controlled by these people who love their system and they don't want their system to die. And this isn't getting conspiratorial. There are people out there who will go down that path, but we live in a system where there's people in control who don't want to lose control. So crypto is a threat to them. And unfortunately, it is an opportunity, this is just my opinion, for us to break away from these people in control. Unfortunately, there are these people who are trying to manipulate the situation for themselves and rip people off. So that's making it increasingly hard, I think, for new people to get involved in it. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So first I want to speak to the early communities. So yeah, the early days of crypto was absolutely very, very interesting. It was like the early days of the internet, especially with
Wild West.
Things like the Lightning Network. Yeah, especially things with like the Lightning Network on top of Bitcoin. Watching that grow was literally almost exactly the same as watching web domains grow. It was really, really, really interesting. So it was really crazy. So I got into crypto, Bitcoin specifically around 2012, and it was from a Slashdot article about something called Silk Road. For those who remember that, it was an online dark website where you could actually purchase narcotics and things like that. So, well, I think they killed that category pretty quick, but
that moved to
there was some crazy.
That moved to the deep web.
Crazy stuff. Absolutely. So there was some crazy stuff in there, but basically that's how I heard about it was 2012. And so what I did is I got into it more and started learning more about what Bitcoin was specifically, because there was Bitcoin and there were some other couple altcoins. So Bitcoin is the really most interesting situation because that's the only currency. It was the first, of course, but it's also the only currency that was literally created. That was literally created and then donated to the world. So there's literally a million Bitcoin that was from the creator of Bitcoin that's still in the address, still in the wallet right now to this day. And he just basically kept that there to show, to sort of symbolize to the rest of the world that this wasn't a get rich quick scheme. This dude or group of people, whoever it was, this anonymous group of people created this for a very specific reason. Now, in order to create something like the system, like Bitcoin, you have to have a knowledge of the systems that you were discussing earlier. You have to have a knowledge of the Federal Reserve System. You have to have a knowledge of the Bank of International Settlements. You have to have a knowledge of the World Bank and the rest of the central banks like the ECB and the Federal Reserve. You have to have a knowledge of how that came into place. How after World War II, how the U.S. dollar became the world standard system and the world reserve currency. And there's no conspiracies about this. This is all normal documented stuff that you can, of course, read about. And so the person who created this had an understanding of the system that has entrapped us, increasingly so after 71, after we left the gold standard. And so in order to create the system, you have to have a deep knowledge of this. And in addition to having this deep knowledge, they then created it, open sourced it, and then left the system to the people. So Bitcoin particularly is a very interesting thing by itself. Everything else is basically, you can kind of think of it as fintech, right? Fintech, like in Silicon Valley. Bitcoin is an open source protocol, and a digital gold that was given to the world by a group of developers, and everything else was created for profit from day one. So when Bitcoin was created, it had what we call an almost magical, birth, an immaculate birth, because when it was being distributed to the world, it had no value. So for years, Bitcoin had no value. There was no exchange, so it had no value. So people were like, what is this stuff that's nothing? And eventually it gained a value when the world's first exchange started happening. And so now it's worth tens of pennies, and that's pretty interesting. Then it eventually became pennies and then dollars, and on it went. So that was a system that type of creation cannot be duplicated in any other altcoin. Which is why Bitcoin is so different, because when any other altcoin launches, now the whole world already understands, oh, okay, this is a currency. Somebody's trying to create a currency.
Yeah.
And there's a CEO. Well, there's clearly an agenda here. I mean, come on, dude, you're gonna don't tell me you're creating a currency to help the world when you're the CEO and you own a big, huge percent of it and you mind it first, and all these things. So it gets into crazy stuff. So unfortunately, there is a lot of scams in these altcoins and this crypto world and things like that. But what I try to tell people, and I spoke to people all around the world about Bitcoin, and I tried to get the message out there about what Bitcoin is and the importance of it. And Bitcoin is the answer to those systems that you described earlier, because basically money is the most important invention that humans have ever created, and it does touch everything. It's involved in everything. Money's involved in everything. So when you create a new money that's not controlled by the old system, that can cause a few sparks, right? So you think maybe the government would have shut that down. They would have made that illegal. In the early days, everybody was like, they're going to shut that down. The government's going to make that illegal. But what happened is that in their arrogance, they left it alone. They left it alone to grow to a point to where now it is so big that you cannot make it illegal. Sure, you can be like China and like ban crypto, and Bitcoin will then double and triple in the next couple of years. Bitcoin doesn't care. Bitcoin is this open, decentralized, borderless, global, censorship-resistant system that is available to all people with an internet connection. So Bitcoin doesn't care who you are, what your sex is, what your color is, how old you are. It's just like email. There's no CEO of the internet. There's no CEO of email. There's no CEO of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is something separate from all of these other currencies and these other altcoins and these other fintech and these other you'd be surprised at so many scams and so many crazy coins. But I do try to remind people that Bitcoin is something that's very special and is something very important and has helped so many people and continues to help people, especially those displaced by that system that you were talking about that is currently mostly in control. There are millions of people that are unbanked just in the United States, let alone the rest of the world. There is only maybe a billion people on the planet with access to a credit score, with access to a credit system. Bitcoin is the answer to the rest of the world. It is the answer to everything. It's not only the answer to, because when you fix the money, basically you fix the system. When you fix the money, you fix the system. Bitcoin is the fix to the money because it is the most secure, decentralized, censorship-resistant global system we've ever had, inclusive system we've ever had. So that is something very important to be a distinction of is Bitcoin and then everything else. So as you can probably tell from this conversation, I am very interested in telling people about Bitcoin, about spreading the word about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the only thing that's basically as important to me as music.
You love it. Look, and a lot of things in life have only have value. It has as much value as what you give it. So look, I'm a very firm believer in toppling the system at some point. I'm an anarchist. I always will be an anarchist. And I look at money and say, you talked briefly just about, and this isn't meant to, we don't want to go down the financial path. And trust me, I need to do a disclaimer. We're not giving you financial advice in any way, shape or form. So don't take any financial advice. But my opinion of money is, as you said, a gold standard. Then we moved to, we've got an oil standard. I mean, money started out on IOUs. It was basically a blank piece of paper to say, because they had this thing called money and nobody knew what the fuck to do with it. But money has as much value as what you place on it. Sure, we all need it to survive, but there are other ways around it. I would love to see the system topple. I would love to see a new way because, and as Russ has written here, and Jamie as well, love, peace, music, and cake, Russ. And Russ has written, love is the most important thing, not money. It absolutely is. I do this channel for absolute love. I don't give a shit about the money. It started out just to help people because I'm in a position where I feel like I've done most things musically, I've toured and done all these things, released so many albums, and I want to give back and see other people grow with. So that's the most important thing. That's where I find value in things. That is not money. I want to move on to some stuff because I want to talk about Mobile Music Pro, and I don't want everybody to tune out and go finances.
I get a little deep because again, money is so important, right? It's so you have to get a little deep when you go into that stuff. But again, guys, like it's not financial advice. But Bitcoin, it's not going to topple the system, right? What it's going to do is it's going to change the system. It's going to force change. It is a check. Is a check on this check and balance of the Federal Reserve global system, the homogeneous Federal Reserve system that is basically in control and starts all wars. So this is basically a check and balance on that because as they print more money, as they print more money, Bitcoin as an asset in value goes up. So you look at the stock market and you see it going up for the past few years. But if you measure it in Bitcoin, it's been going down.
Yeah.
Because they've been printing more dollars. So as they print more dollars, asset prices inflate. And then it appears that everybody's getting rich, but it's not because everybody who doesn't own assets is getting poorer and poorer, which is more than 50% of the country or more than 50% of the world. And the only people that are getting rich are the people that do own those assets. And so, but even that is artificial because of the money printing. So Bitcoin is a check. It's just a check on all that and a check and balance. And it will prevent the system from getting even more crazy because as it collapses on itself, there's going to need to be some kind of replacement. And so people are going to look for something that they can believe in, something that they can hold. Because right now there's only a few places you can put your money, stock markets, gold, bonds, a couple of things. All of it is pretty much crap compared to Bitcoin because there's nothing with a limited supply and there's nothing that is global and there's nothing that can't be shut down like Bitcoin. Because if a country bans it, another country will take that bet and just get the price even more. You can't mine in that country? No problem. We'll mine in this country. And on it goes until the world realizes that you wake up one day, everybody has a Facebook, everybody has an iPhone. Well, you're going to wake up one day and everybody's going to have a Bitcoin wallet.
I'll tell you what, during the people wonder why NASA stopped going to the moon. And it sounds like I'm going off on a tangent, but it's going to lead back to what we're talking about. Yes. But they took quite a few years away from sending people to the moon because you know what? They did it. Regardless on if you're a conspiracy theorist or not. Hey, you believe what you believe. But then what they did was they spent all their money into developing these cameras, which they shot into space to float around the sun. And every day we can monitor the sun and we see when we've got a solar flare or a CME coming towards us. And I'll tell you what, you can have all the fucking money and all the Bitcoin and all the treasures in the fucking world. But if we get hit with a X-class solar flare, none of it's going to matter shit because the whole entire network of this system that we live in is going down. And that could happen tomorrow. You really don't know. The sun is its own thing. So nature's really going to dictate what we hold.
At that point, it's just guns and alcohol.
It's
that is
survival. It's zombie holocaust after that. And you know what I say? Bring it on. Let's do the zombie holocaust. It can't get any worse, can it? All right, so let's play a song and then we'll come back and we'll talk about Mobile Music Pro and apps and stuff like that. And then we'll get the hell out of here. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right, let's do this. Get my shit together. Speaking of technology, so I'm going to play now. What have we played? We've played that. We're going to play, this is DigitalOcean, folks, and this is another track made by Vortex. So kick back, grab yourself a coffee, relax, and we'll be back with you shortly. Oh, yeah. Boom. Boom. Alrighty, let's bring back our sound here. And I think we're good. Let me just bring you back in. There you go. So that was DigitalOcean, another track that you have made and not released, but I made the little video clips for it today just to make it look fancy, because
it looks good.
Just like people to have something to look at. We could sit there like dancing if you want, but I think people aren't going to deal with that. And, hey, these shows always go down different paths, because that's what it is. So, hey, we've never talked finance on the show, so that's another tick on the box. I love it. It's what it's all about. All right, so Mobile Music Pro. So you step into the YouTube space of Mobile Music Pro. If I was asking for an elevator speech right now on what Mobile Music Pro is, and I gave you 30 seconds, tell us in 30 seconds, what is Mobile Music Pro?
All right. Excuse me.
That's 5 seconds gone. The CEO's pissed off.
It's all over already. I'm fired. Okay. So basically, essentially, Mobile Music Pro, what the elevator pitch is, it's essentially a YouTube channel dedicated to creating resources and information for mobile music producers. And basically what that really means is I kind of try to serve the producer community. So I know that I'll never be the most amazing music producer and go out there and make a bunch of #1 records and gold records and all that stuff. But I do believe that there are many people out there that can and that could, if they had the opportunity, if they had the chance, just to learn a little bit about it. Because really, that's the basis of Mobile Music Pro. Is there's so many people out there that want to make music that don't know that they can. They don't know they actually have the ability. They don't understand the Cubasis is right there on their phone now and their iPad. So you would not believe the stigma that there is still around music production outside of the producer community, where you automatically think that you need the big old huge Star Trek studio in order to produce music. That image of people's mind is just that image of that huge big classic studio with those massive speakers and that big board is just burned into people's brains for decades now about that is how you make music. And so Mobile Music Pro, a big part of it is just trying to undo that kind of psychology and undo that purist mindset that makes you think that you need a specific thing to be able to actually follow your dreams. So with Mobile Music Pro, we try to create everything, like I said, resources. So that includes courses, tutorials, sample packs, MIDI packs, templates, guides, all that good stuff. Anything and everything we can do I'm trying to just I'm kind of just throwing everything at the wall, anything and everything I can do to be able to help people make music. And I've gotten feedback from the community on what they like and what they enjoy and what they believe can help them the most. So a big, huge thing I've gotten feedback for is the Cubasis 3 guide, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of downloads, might be over thousands of downloads now at this point. And people really enjoyed that. And then we've had thousands and thousands of downloads on all of our free sample packs. We've had a ton of feedback on that, what people like about it, what they don't like about it. And we've just released another update to those sample packs. So a third completely free update to completely free packs. And again, it's all about the passion and the dedication. We're not here to make money, much like yourself, not here to make $1 million or anything like that. We are here to serve the producer community. And the Mobile Music Pro is set up to hopefully be aligned with the mobile music community or with the producer community, so that if Mobile Music Pro is successful, that means that we've helped people. That means that we've actually made other people successful. That's really the only way that Mobile Music Pro becomes successful, is if our tutorials are good enough, if our sample packs are good enough, if our guides are good enough, if people believe that we're actually contributing value back to the community. And so I believe that we are. We've had a lot of good feedback that we are. And so that is kind of the elevator pitch of Mobile Music Pro.
Look, I came from an era of, and you know, I've changed. I'm really happy to say I've grown as an artist. I came from an era of, you know, metal and all this kind of stuff. And hey, back in the day, back when I was playing music, when I started playing at 13 years old in bands, if you weren't actually playing a real instrument, you were a loser. You weren't a fucking musician. And that's, you know, that's all good and fine. But as time has gone on, right, there have been massive artists who weren't particularly talented at music, and they have songs that we listen to every day and know as soon as we hear them. It is what it is, and they may not be as talented as what you think they are. So as technology has moved on, and now in our pocket we have these kind of things where anybody has the ability to make music, I have softened quite a bit and understand that, because I see so many artists now who use samples and sample packs and things like that, because you can make music from building things from other pieces of music. And some of the biggest hits have used samples from huge classic songs, and it's either made or broken them. So I think what you do with the sample packs really does help people break into music, and that's important. That is important. More people making music, I think the better our world will be, because music is the language that we have. We're supposed to be speaking. This shit that we're doing now
Absolutely.
is the thing that's getting us in trouble. This making up words, defining words, holding it's ridiculous. But music's the one thing that softens the blow, increases the pain, makes you happy. There's so many emotions that come from music. So I believe these days, however you make music, if it's samples, if it's from your own thing, have at it. Do it. So I can see the value in these packs. Let me just bring up. So you have a store here, and you have a wide variety of packs just looking at them all. What is the process you go through to create these packs? Like, you know, how does it begin? Like, you reach out to an artist, just go through the process to getting it into this final form of a box and releasing it.
Absolutely. So, like you said, you know, we have a decent variety on there. I'm not nearly satisfied with the variety. In fact, I often say on my stream, I'm like, when I give out gift cards, I'm like, we only have a few things right now, but give me till the end of the year. Give me a couple more years. You know, I'm gonna keep at it. And so building up this huge library, because I do believe that again, if people like the stuff, if people use it to create successful stuff, then Mobile Music Pro will eventually be successful. If only by helping people, not financially, if only just by actually helping people, that would still be good enough for me. So how the actual process works is I basically have a vision, because I love so many kinds of music. I mean, this is what it's all about. Like we say, it's the music, right? So, you know, it starts out with me liking something or being inspired by something, a specific genre or something I've heard, and or something I have in my head. And what I do is I go to a producer and I explain my vision, and kind of get them on board with the vision, and then they create something like maybe a demo song or two to be able to send back to me to see if we can nail the vibe. And once we both got the vibe nailed, once we're both happy with that type of vibe, then the producer continues to create the rest of the songs for the pack. So then once that's done, then I break down all of the sounds, you know, into the individual pieces, and then I send that off to another producer who actually does all the RX2 and Apple loops and Acid, and then I create the the box art and all the graphics, and then I create the product page, and then I create all the marketing, and then of course I proceed to market that on my live streams and my videos.
So what I love is that you've got a metal pack.
Yes.
Let's talk about it because it's the newest pack. And I know you reached out to me a while ago and was like, hey, I'm doing a metal pack. And I was like, really? Well, that's pricked my interest. I want to hear this. But then I found out who you got to actually do the metal and was like, yes. All right, I'm excited now because this guy is incredible. And it's got some really sick sounds. Tell us about this new pack, and I know you've got a competition running for it, so tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So this pack, I reached out to a producer named the Jade, and I call him Guy for short. I can't actually pronounce his real name. I think it's
Adriano Guillem.
Yeah, I can't pronounce the last one, so I call him Guy. He's fine with it. He says most people call him Guy. That starts with a G there, so I call him Guy. But Guy, I reached out to Guy, the DJ producer for this, and because of course that is his wheelhouse. Anything to do with any type of distortion, that man is king. So metal, cyberpunk, any kind of metal, any kind of hard rock, that guy is going to be all over it. And so I reached out with him. I was really impressed with his work, with what he's done and the tracks that he's made. So I reached out with him and asked him if he wanted to do metal pack, and it turns out that he's actually watched my channel a whole lot. In fact, he actually learned a lot about Cubasis from my videos and from my packs, and he actually ended up creating most of this modern metal pack in Cubasis. So this pack was actually recorded by the DJ in Cubasis, and so that's pretty interesting. So basically everything about this pack almost was created for the iPad and with the iPad. Now, of course, it's just WAV files, so you can import those into desktop or wherever you want to do. But there are a bunch of things in here that's specifically designed for the iPad. So as you're showing now, there is a bunch of templates or a bunch of presets for a bunch of different apps. In fact, over 13 different apps. We either have drum samples, drum presets for, or one-shot presets for. So I take the one-shots and I take the drum one-shots, and I create these presets for all these different apps so that people don't have to do that work. They can just quickly import into their favorite app and have it ready to rock. And so recently, another thing we've been doing is adding templates into our sample packs. And so this is no different. This is going to have a metal template, which has 16 bars of music, and then has empty MIDI and audio regions already arranged out for you for a song. So you know exactly where the intro is and where the verse is. So for example, there's a lot of people who are getting into music that don't understand arrangement yet, but now you'll be able to listen to this music and have everything labeled right there for you. So there's almost like no excuse to be able to create a full song, because there's a lot of people that when they start out have trouble going from just a loop to making a full song. And so I think these templates will really help with that. So this will have a metal template as well. And that metal template was created by the one and only Jamie Mallender. Shout out to Jamie in the chat. So that template was created by Jamie, and then the actual sounds were created by Guy. And then of course I put it all together, mashed it all together, and made sure that it was all coherent in the MobileMusicPro way, because all of our packs I make sure are as organized and pristine as possible. Try to make them all organized in the same way. So when you download a MobileMusicPro pack, you know exactly what to expect. You know there's going to be a template. You know there's going to be MIDI. You know there's going to be iOS presets. Everything all organized into folders, and not a million folders either. Just like there's only like one or two subfolders. So everything is try to organize as possible as a way that a producer's mind thinks when we create this music. So this pack is absolutely a passion project for sure, because we are releasing it completely free, and as we do with a couple of our packs. And when we do release these free packs, we try to have a contest around it so that we can get more and more people making music. Because as you said, that is the magic sauce here. That is why MobileMusicPro is here, because I truly, truly, truly believe the only thing more I believe in is this. The only thing I believe more in Bitcoin is this. More than Bitcoin is this. Is that music does save the world. If more and more people were making music, the world would be a better place. So that is a big part of what MobileMusicPro tries to do. And with these sample packs, I believe we can do that. And with these contests on top of that, I believe we can incentivize even the most diehard people who are, have that 40 to 60 hour a week job. Even them, hopefully, we can try to incentivize them to try to create a tune, try to get some creativity flowing, and try to have an opportunity to have their music heard by other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the one thing I love about all these communities here on YouTube, be it from the tutorials stuff, or be it from like channels that play people's music, from my time doing this, there really has been, I've seen, an exponential growth in quality, and people are getting better and better and better and better. And it blows me away from when I started this a bit over 2 years ago to seeing, it's just so inspiring seeing people that started out on such different levels, all just catching up with each other. It really is mind blowing. I'm going to play a little bit of this sample pack just to hear what, listen to this. This is the metal sound pack.
Yep.
You ready? Grab your balls.
Let's go.
Let's add some vocals live, shall we? I find you so tired. Now as I true to my Wow.
Love it.
Sick,
Love
man.
it. Love it. You can hear, of course, some of those sounds that were in my trap metal pack, or that was in my trap metal song, because I definitely used a bunch of sounds from this pack and arranged it, in my own way there.
So that thing's free, and I know you're running a competition. So
Yes.
I think if I click the link, so competition. So this is a competition to get in a song. I think it's you can explain while I show the page.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's absolutely completely free to enter. Jade's got the page up right now, and it is free to enter. You just have to download the free pack and use as many sounds as you can from that to create yourself an original production. And then just go ahead and send that in to info@mobilemusicpro.com. And of course, that email address and the information is all there on that page. But as you can see, this is our biggest contest yet, because the first prize winner is has over $250 in prizes. So $250 cash, and then a $50 Mobile Music Pro gift card. So our previous contest, the highest first place winner only got $100, and now we're upping the ante a little bit more here as the channel grows a little bit bigger and our community gets a little bit bigger. We're trying to, and we get more and more packs and more products, but we're trying to up the ante there a little bit and try to create even more incentive to get people making music. And so for this round, there's over $500 worth of prizes total, and that first place prize winner is again over $250 worth of prizes.
So mobilemusic.com. So head over there, go download the pack, and go win some money, bitches. Yeah. What do you got to lose? Nothing.
Get your rent paid.
Yeah, exactly. Vortex just wants to give you some of his sweet Bitcoin, so go and take it from him. So let's talk about Cubasis, and then we'll talk about some of your favorite apps, and we'll get the hell out of here. Cubasis. So it's what you use. It's your main door of choice. And you know what I love about doors is it's like assholes. Everyone has one, and it's and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what comes out of it, because it's going to be quality. So just keep shitting through it. That's a really weird analogy, but
That's a weird
a door
analogy.
is a door is a door is a door. It really doesn't matter what door you use, and I know you agree with this. And we all have our favorites. I go between heaps of them. I use GarageBand for the ease of it. I use Cubasis here and there. I use Aurea Pro. I use mostly iPad for everything pretty much. I will be delving into Logic on my Mac soon. But have you thought about, using another door and doing a special series on your channel? Because I think that would be really interesting. I like seeing people in uncomfortable situations. I know Pete Johns does it as well. He's the GarageBand guru, and all of a sudden he's like, okay, everybody, I'm going to do Logic. And it's like, ooh, yeah, let's watch the pain, man. People like to watch car crashes.
Pete is the king of uncomfortable situations. He don't care. He's like, you make a song right on the fly, no problem. Spend every single day like in front of live people making a song throughout the week, no problem. Switch a DAW, no problem. Desktop, iOS, no problem. He just
So can we
you
can we see that from you? I'd love to see that from you. I want to see you in an uncomfortable mode to do it, because I think too, you know, we talked about it briefly, Ran. You know, you haven't got any songs released or anything like that, you know. But what I do love is enthusiasm, and I love to see people step out of their comfort zone, because it does help other people take risks and be more dangerous.
Absolutely.
And that's what's missing from rock and roll music. Hello, Metalhead Hippie is in the chat as well. So could we see something like that? Because I would buy that for $1.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if you want to see me in an uncomfortable situation, just come to my live streams every single Wednesday, where I attempt to actually try to make music in genres, different genres all the time. So, you know, I study up on a genre and I try to attempt to make it live in front of people. That is some scary shit, folks. Let me tell you something right now. But I just love music so much. I love so many genres, and I appreciate all these people out here doing all of this creativity. So I just feel like I gotta try. I gotta try. And again, it does help inspire people to create music. So if I do even inspire one person, put myself on blast like that, then trying to create something out of my comfort zone, I'll do it for sure. And I've created everything on the live stream so far. I mean, lo-fi, synthwave, rock, classic rock, now metal, and we're gonna do cyberpunk, and then trap, and then EDM, and also it's gonna get real crazy. So if you do want to see me in uncomfortable situations, just go into my live stream. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate people like yourself and Pete Johns and Sound Test Room, who really every show is different. Like, it is absolutely incredible, the work and talent that you have between those three channels, just between Jade, Pete Starr, and Sound Test Room. Like, just those three channels alone, if you just watch what they do every day, you will learn just an incredible amount, just decades of experience. And I can't shout your guys' names from the rooftops loud enough. But as far as what Mobile Music Pro is doing. So a big part of what Mobile Music Pro is doing is, again, trying to do music production even more than like app reviews and talking about apps. I want to basically, the idea was to create a desktop music production channel, but for iPad. And so most of the music production channels that inspire me, like BusyWorks Beats, they do tend to stick with one DAW for the most part. But even big, huge channels like, you know, BusyWorks Beats and other channels, they absolutely still check out another DAW, because they spend, you know, 90% of the time in the run DAW, but then they know that their audience, just like you, Jade, is curious to see, well, what do you think about this other DAW? And so even big channels do it. So I absolutely will do that at some point for sure, because of course people ask for it. And like you said, it's fun to watch me try to fumble around in a new DAW, but also it's just for the education, because if I can get people to get out of their comfort zone too, that's going to help them in their production and in their journey and in their lives so much. So I think that we're definitely going to do that at some point. When do I have that planned? Boy, I got videos planned all the way till summer, to after summer. So it might not be this year, but I absolutely definitely plan to do not only other DAWs, but I want to do like a top 5 iOS DAWs. I want to do a Cubasis versus videos, like Cubasis versus Beatmaker 3 and Cubasis versus Aria, and so give people the differences. So that is certainly planned. When it's going to come down the line, don't know.
Audible Video says, I want to see Vortex on Dancing with the Stars. That's why we love you, Audible Video. Always the poignant stuff there. No, what I would love to see you do is to make a song in GarageBand. I would love to see that, because GarageBand is like the basic tool, you know. But it does. It's some of the stuff I see people make is just incredible.
If I would leave Cubasis, it would be for GarageBand. That would be the second. That's my number. That would be my number 2 DAW that I would jump into. If I had to leave Cubasis, it would be into GarageBand for sure. And then after that, probably Aria, and then finally Beatmaker, because I'm just not an MPC workflow type of person.
Yeah, look, I love Aria, but I come from a very old school, mentality. I've worked in studios, on Pro Tools and all that stuff. So when I saw Aria, it was like, oh my Lord, this is my gig. It looks like how I would record as a band. It looks like Pro Tools. It looks like the old Logic.
Absolutely.
And that stuff floats. And again, folks, it's like apps. They're not Pokemon. You don't need them all. And it's the same with DAWs. What DAW somebody else uses, if somebody turns around to you and ever says, I can't believe you use that DAW to make music. Seriously, tell them to fuck off. Really. Because if you're happy using that, you use that, man. And that's the most important thing. Do what makes you happy. It's always the most important
And
thing.
and it gets crazy too because people are even beyond that. They go with devices because, like for example, one of our number one winners from one of our contests created their entire project, created their entire song in Cubase's 3 on their phone.
Yep.
And they won their copy of Cubase's 3 from our channel.
Wow.
So they won the DAW, used the DAW to create then a number one song in the contest. And he continues to use Cubase's on his phone to this day because that's just how he prefers to work.
Yeah. Hey, Sion, what's going on? Anyone else who I've missed? I've probably missed a bunch of people in the chat because we get into these interviews, and it's. But I want to thank you all for being here today. Thanks all for hanging out. 31 of you, thanks you. So you're sticking out. I know it's a long time, these interviews, but thank you, as always, for hanging out with us today. Yes. I want to find out.
Thank you.
Just give us 5 iOS apps that make you happy.
Okay, let's see. They're going to be mixing apps probably because that's what I do.
And I'll search them while you're telling me. So we've not pre-planned this.
FabFilter. We got to throw. Yeah, this is not pre-planned. We got to throw up FabFilter. Got to shout out FabFilter. Use them in my mixing all the time, particularly the multi-band and of course the limiter and the EQ. So we got to throw FabFilter.
FabFilter, man. I remember when I got Audio Pro, one of the main reasons I got Audio Pro was because they had all the FabFilter plugins. And I bought them all immediately, and I was poor for the next month and a half. And then what happened? About a month and a half later, they released them all as standalone, and I was crying because I had to rebuy them all. But hey, you know what? Shit happens. You got to build a bridge and move on. As you can see, I nearly have all of them, most of them. But yeah, look, they're incredible apps. They do cost a bit, so, you know, upfront. And I know not everybody has them, and there are alternatives to them. Many high-quality alternatives for a lot cheaper. But, you know, if you do have the money, I've done shows on most of these, have a look at them and see. Find one that's going to suit you and spend that money on it because, you know, owning at least a couple of these, worth your dollars. And ultimately, if you were buying them on a Mac or PC, you would be poor. That's just the way it is. You know, people complain about apps, and we could talk about that. I've purposely not talked about that because I'm probably going to be on your show at some stage doing a round table. Whoops. So we may talk about that then. But yeah, FabFilter. Anything else you want to throw at me?
Yes. The Rosetta Suite.
Rosetta. I'm pretty sure that's how you spell it.
Yeah, it's a Z.
Oh, it's a Z. Z's.
Rosetta.
Z's and S's here in Australia. It's a mess.
It's by Bambros.
Oh yeah, let's just do Bambros.
Yeah.
We are live. Oh, man, what am I doing? Brand Boss. Get it right.
Brand Boss. Yeah. I think I said bros. Yeah. I was putting R on there. There's no R. Vortex.
So yes, Hammerhead. Gauss.
But, the Rosetta. Got to find Rosetta.
That's... I mean, but they do make some amazing apps. Rosetta, there it is.
There it is. Now, this is one of the cheat codes for sure. This has a ton of MIDI audio units in here that can help you from generate bass lines, generate melodies, generate drum patterns. But what I love to use it for a lot is the Scalar app. I actually like to use it for the Scalar app to prevent myself from being embarrassed by hitting wrong keys on the live stream. So I definitely love to use the Scalar app in here and specifically the arpeggiator. Those are my two jams in this particular suite is the arpeggiator and the Scalar. So the arpeggiator is so great. You can just throw it on any chord and all of a sudden you've got an arpeggio. You can adjust it to your heart's content. And I use this a lot for any type of electronic music, of course. A lot of synthwave. I use this, but I really use it on almost everything. Almost every project has one of these apps, one of these Rosetta apps, one of the apps in this Rosetta suite.
See, this is the one thing I haven't done a show on yet because it's an old one. And what I tend to do is, when I've got nothing planned, I will go back and do these. So you should say I have this list of stuff that I've got to go back on. This is actually going to, what's planned for the next couple of weeks because this is an incredible app. Just like all of the Brand Boss apps. What else you got for me?
Absolutely. FAC. Got to throw out Mr. Frederick Anton Corvest. Got to throw out FAC. Shout out to FAC and the freaking amazing audio quality in all his apps. Specifically the there's so many good, but specifically Transient app. And the Bandit app that you have pulled up here now is like the ultimate amazing warming and distortion app. You can throw it on anything, a bass, a synth, a guitar, a lead, anything, and it will just bring out that thing and dial it to 11. So Bandit is amazing. And then again, their transient app. Well, I definitely throw that on a lot of my drums, specifically the kicks and snares, mostly kicks, to kind of get some more to adjust the transients there, the attack and the K, to kind of get a more of a punchy sound out of that kick, so that it can maybe poke through the mix a little bit more.
Man, I love Altezza. It is just.
And then Altezza, oh my God,
wow.
Altezza, oh. Altezza and Black Hole. It's like all you need.
Throw Altezza on a acoustic guitar, and you are in heaven, my folks. Absolutely heaven. Yeah. What else we got? I think we got a couple.
Let's see. What else? This is off the top of my head now.
Yeah,
so.
Of course.
All of this is off the top of my head. So what do I use? I'm trying to think what I use here. Actually, for the longest time, before Cubasis incorporated sidechain, I used a couple of different sidechain apps. Those are still pretty useful for people. How about the free one, Flux? Flux is an app I use for sure. Flux Mini. Shout out to the developer there, who actually is currently working on the beta. Yeah, the beta of the Flux Pro.
Yes.
So it's the Pro. So I'm super excited about that, because that's going to end up being basically what's the desktop version? The Transient Shaper. There's a I forget the name of the desktop app, but you literally see the desktop version of something like this in almost every single beat making video, because they shape the transients, or they shape the audio signal to be able to do things like fake side chaining or just kind of whooshes, things like that. So it's having this here as a free tool really works great, because you can have the fake side chain, you can have different effects for both, and it works for both pop and electronic music as well. Just a really versatile, nice, beautiful actually looking app as well. But really the big show is going to be the Flux Pro app coming out. But until that comes out, I've used this on a ton of tracks, on a ton of streams, and I love it.
And it's free.
It's
free. One more. I was nearly just going to type this.
Let's see. Let me just see. What do I use all the time?
What about this one? Have you used this before?
Oh. Well, I don't even count Cubasis 3 almost as an app, because it's my DAW. It's like it's just, I just think of it as my DAW.
Well, I'm going to bring this up, because if you were selling somebody to try out Cubasis, what would you say to them? What would you tell them why is Cubasis something that you love so much?
Yes. So I really, really fell in love with Cubasis, because I'm like you, I'm a little bit old school, where I really need that timeline type of feel. But I'm also a graphic designer. I really appreciate the user interface of an app. And so for me, when I use an app, the UI has to be good in my subjective opinion. It has to be good for me. It has to work. It has to flow. It has to look nice. It has to not get in my way. And for me, that's what the Cubasis UI does. It really has everything that you need right at the fingertips. You can hide it, you can show it, and it just flowed. When I created my first track in Cubasis, it just flowed. I added a track, added a MIDI, used the keyboard to add that to create a little melody. Added a MIDI for a drum kit, what do you call it? A drum machine, and had some drums on there. It just flowed. Everything about the user interface flows. So basically, for me, what I would say, reason why I'd recommend it to people is because it's really easy to use. You don't have to worry about all the desktop things like signal flow, drivers, dongles, all that crazy stuff. You just literally download it and click Add Track. And that is the beauty of Cubasis. It really is so intuitive that everything you need is right there.
Thank you, Metalhead Hippie, for the $5 super chat. You rock.
Yes.
Boom. Speaking of Metalhead Hippie, hopefully he's been taking a break for the last month. I don't know if you know who Metalhead Hippie is, Vortex. So he plays people's music on his channel. So he's a major asset to the YouTube music creation community, because he plays people's music, and he does these amazing 6-hour streams of just playing so much music. And so he's taken a break for the last.
So cool.
He's been off for a month just to recoup, because we all need to recoup, and it is a healthy thing. So folks, remember, if you're feeling a bit flustered and you're feeling like things are closing in, step away, go do something else, take a break, and you'll come back feeling nice and refreshed.
And shout out to Pete Johns too, because he plays people's music. I really love that he does that all the time. So yeah, shout out to Pete Johns for that. It's it's part of a content strategy, but it's also just so great for the community. Like you said, I mean, I wish I could do it as well. I just haven't made that type of time for the channel. I'm focused on tutorial videos, but I just cannot appreciate channels like that enough. Getting people's music out there, it's the most personal, important thing in the world that you can do as a musician, as a producer, is to be able to share your music. And I say that, of course, with zero released music, but I do try to create a company that helps people to create music. So, that is why I do believe that it is so important to continue creating music.
Absolutely. All right. So that's that. I'm going to close the poll now because I haven't forgotten the poll, which is up here. Let's see. Let's end this poll and see what's going on. All right. So we need a drum roll. Brrr. 82% of my community think you should forgive and hug it out with Russ and unblock him. And there we go. So hopefully that'll be a thing. Hopefully we have that, because I like to see peace, man. Let's have more peace, less war. So, ball's in your court. Hopefully that's something you'll do, because, Russ is an amazing guy. You're an amazing dude as well. So thank you for coming on the show and being so open. Yeah, I love when people come on here and be incredibly open and talk about who they are. I do want to bring something else up before we go. You mentioned you are married, and how is that like balancing, private life and all this? Does your missus, does she love it? Does she watch you and does she go, "Oh, dude, you look like a geek. What are you doing?" Does she give you shit when you open the show and go, "Hello, everybody, I'm Vortex"? Does she go, "What are you doing, man? You geek"? I want to know.
I think there should probably be some kind of support group for YouTubers' wives.
Why do you think I'm single?
It's just like, like Pete Johns had his wife on there, and it's a very similar situation where they're like, just most of the time, like, what are you doing? What are you really what are you doing right now? You are just you're doing all these things in front of, but why? But you're in front of people, but and you're
realize
super
you're on
nervous,
camera.
and you still do
Yeah.
this. You do this it's very interesting, because it does take a lot of time away from my life. MobileMusicPro, I do this full time, and so it definitely does take a lot of time. So that's why I think even Crystal is her name, my wife, mentioned that like there should probably be some kind of support group for YouTubers' wives, because only they can understand that the crazy things that they do, talking in front of the camera all the time, making these shows, doing these weird inflections, of course, like like I always do with Vortex. And so I think ultimately they find it a little silly, but they definitely know. Crystal definitely knows that I have a big heart and a big passion for helping people and educating people. I've always been into education. Even in my software development career, I was always teaching people how to do something new, looking for new things and teaching people about that. So education is kind of, even when I was little, I was like in Bible school, like 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, teaching my siblings, my stepbrothers and sisters, like stuff about Bible studies. I just always found it really fascinating to be able to see the outcome of helping somebody, seeing the result of that end result, and the net result is positivity, and seeing that net positivity, that net positive result go spew out into the ether, into the universe is why I get up. It's why it gets me up in the morning every single day, is doing that, is seeing people better themselves through something that maybe I have had some say in, some work in, and some contributions to.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So the last thing, a question that I ask everybody on the show, it's a loaded question. It's pretty easy to answer. Vortex, if somebody was considering becoming creative, when would you suggest would be the best time for them?
I think next week, because there's like a meeting coming up, and then there's then you got to take the kids to school, and then there's Starbucks is important. Yeah, obviously you got to start that right now, people. Like whether you're scared or not, you have to get something out there. And like like Jade and I were talking about earlier, like it doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't. If you look at all the detail that Jade puts into her work, into this channel, into these interviews, you could just see there's just a ton of work and passion. And then you come over to my channel, I got like 2 screens, and like it's pretty crazy. So you have to put the appreciation in to people like Jade and these content creators who create these shows for us. So you have to put something out there if you can. Just anything, doesn't have to be perfect, and I guarantee you it won't be quite as scary as you think it is, because at the end of the day, most people just really don't give a shit.
Totally. And hey, you know what, folks?
They
I
just
try
don't
and put
care.
this out there too. You know, hey, if you can't make my show, don't ever feel obliged that you have to be there at every show. Because, you know, we all have lives, and you've got to have time to create. You've got to have time to have your space to do things, to play video games, to go and smell the fresh air, to work, to be with loved ones. YouTube tutorials aren't the be all and end all of everything. You know, there's always a fucking replay. Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, I'm going to bring this up. You mentioned you've got a cat. Now, you always say, and I know a lot of YouTubers do this, when we talk about our channel, we say we. We here at Mobile Music Pro, we here, I want to see your cat on one of your streams, so for once, it will be a we, and it'll be you and a cat. Can I get that at least once? I want to see a pussy cat on stream soon.
I got two cats,
Two?
actually.
You definitely are a we then.
There. they're definitely sisters. Just the two came out of their mom. They were strays, and we got them off of Craigslist, actually, when they were just little baby kittens. So now they're 5 years old, fully grown female women. A little bit of entitled princesses that they are, but yeah, I should probably have them on the stream at some point. But the problem is that both of them really, really love wires, and so I
That could be a cool
having
stream.
to keep them. I have to keep them out of the studio for most of the time, because the first thing they're going to do is go under my studio desk and just start pulling stuff out of the freaking thing. So, unfortunately, it might not happen anytime soon, but I'll try to get those cats on there. But I definitely say we a lot. It's true. And because mostly I say it as to represent Mobile Music Pro and myself, because Mobile Music Pro is an LLC.
I get it.
So of course, you don't hear Amazon saying I.
I'm only messing with you,
but
man.
definitely though, we probably gotta get another cat in there. But yeah, for those who are curious, the channel was originally created by me and another friend, but then that friend quickly became kind of bored and did something else. So it was quickly just me. But it's both me and my wife, and of course the producers that we work with and that I deal with. But man, I tell you, you'd be so surprised how much input my wife has on everything. Like, I ask her for everything. Like, I ask her, what do you think of this design? What do you think of this song? What do you think of this everything? And she really is like my check and balance. She makes, if I think something is a little bit maybe off or something is not good enough, she'll say, hey, no, this looks pretty good. Or if I think, one time I thought this box art looked amazing, and she's like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And so, it's really through her kind of perception that I help that I Mobile Music Pro, because she actually really loves what do you call it? All the pop culture stuff and e-channel and all that kind of stuff. So she's always into design and things like that. So she really plays a bit of a valuable role, and I really appreciate all the help that she's helped me with Mobile Music Pro.
Well, I want to see you with some pussy on cam. There's a cheap joke right there. So,
there you go.
I'm going
to
leave Russ with the last word. We're going to play some music to go out. We're going to play the last song. I think I haven't played. Rocky Skies. That's
should be one more.
Rocky Skies. I haven't played that, so we're going to go with that. But I'm going to let Russ comment, which is here, say this. I'm going to read this out. We'll see on the next live stream if Vortex can let sleeping dogs be. I hope so. Come on, guys. Come together. Come together right now over me. All right, guys. Hey, thank you all for being here today. All of the links to Vortex's stuff is in the description. Every single thing you can find. Check out the medal pack. Join the competition. Throw your balls into the ring and see what you've got, because, good stuff. And, thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank God we finally got here. So, and folks, we're living in tough times, yeah? So try and be kind to yourself. Try and cut yourself off from the news, because you know what? Focus on what's outside your own door, yeah? Because you can focus on that. Try and cut out that outside word. Any last words you want to say to folks before we head off?
Actually, that was something very similar, I think, that what I was going to say. It was absolutely well said, Jade. Like, really, there is crazy times right now, guys, and you just have to remember that you have to only try to focus on what you can actually control, the change that you actually have over. And that means, like Jade said, right out your front door, or maybe right in your living room. Maybe you have some family you might not need to attend to, just try to focus on what you can actually control and what you can actually contribute to, because there's always going to be something out there in the news trying to scare you, trying to take your attention away, because attention, when people say they pay attention, that's not just a funny phrase. You actually pay with your attention. And so make sure that the little attention that we actually have here on this planet is spent towards something useful, something net positive. And that is usually something that you can control right away, right immediate. And that is usually, making music right now. So go make some music, make the world a better place. And I appreciate everybody for being here.
And Metalhead Hippie has just said, be cool, be kind, and don't be a dick. And that is the way to do it. Folks, we're going to play a song, last song here by Vortex, and it is called Rocky Skies. Please stay on the line with me, Vortex, till after the show, and we'll have a catch-up after the show briefly. Guys, do the things that make you happy. Remember, mistakes make you better, and we can all rise together. Thank you very much, Vortex. Thank you very much, everybody here. And I'll see you on the weekend for the opening hour Metal Live Classics. Oh, yeah, I'm doing a metal live stream this weekend, so I hope to see you there. Alrighty, bye. See you later. Ta-da! We'll start that again. Smash that like, folks!